Wednesday, October 1st, 1941. In Moscow, the Allied conference comes to an end. The Soviets will receive help from the British and the Americans. In the Eastern Front, the German forces of Army Group North has laid siege of Leningrad and advances towards Lake Ladoga, while Finnish troops take Lake Petrovadosk in the western shore of Lake Onega in Karelia. In the center, the Reich troops occupy Susk south of Bryansk and River Losa, breaking across the Soviet line of defense. In the south, the Panzer divisions march towards Melitopol in southeastern Ukraine. Other units cross River Jorel on their way to Mirogord. Stalin orders the reserve front to transfer troops for the defense of Kursk and Kharkov. The government of the Third Reich decrees that no Jews will be allowed to leave Germany or the occupied territories. In London, in the House of Commons, the third war budget of the year of £1,000 million is voted. In China, troops of the Kuomintang Chinese Nationalist Party of General Chiang Kai-shek defeat the Japanese in Changla Pass. Thursday, October 2nd. The Battle of Moscow begins. The 3rd and 4th Panzer Groups of Marshal von Bock launched the first attack of Operation Typhoon. As Hitler put it, today begins the last great battle that will be decisive in the war. The Germans intensify their attacks all along the Russian front. The defense of Moscow is divided into 3 sectors. The Western Front, commanded by Semyon Timoshenko. In Bryansk are the forces led by General Andrei Yermorenko and the reserve front of Marshal Semyon Budynny. The troops of the Third Reich are now 370 kilometers away from the Russian capital and will attempt to launch a pincer operation upon it. 2 million men, 5,000 tanks, and more than 5,000 aircraft comprise a massive force whose task is to ravage Moscow. However, the soldiers are exhausted and they are running out of equipment and supplies. The Spanish volunteer airmen see combat for the first time. 105 men of the Blue Squadron, 15 Spanish Staffel, under the leadership of Commander Ángel Salas Larrazabal, will serve in the 8th Army of General Richthofen, former head of the Spanish Condor Legion. In the south of the country starts the Battle of the Azov Sea, and the Romanian army increases its pressure upon Odessa. In the United States, in a meeting between Secretary of State Cordell Hull and the Japanese ambassador Kisasaburo Nomura, the Americans reject the Nippon proposals and inform that a meeting between Prime Minister Fumimaro Konoe and Roosevelt will be impossible as long as Japan rejects their demands. China is the key issue. Friday, October 3rd. Hitler is now in Berlin. After 3 months of silence, he addresses a massive audience at the Sportpalast. In his speech, he mocks the Soviets, labeling them as cowards that flee from the German army. On the other hand, Goebbels announces that more than 1.5 million children have been evacuated from the major German cities. In Russia, Guderian and his Panzer Army march to the north, heading to Orel and Bryansk, where the forces of General Yeremenko try to stop them. Further north, in the region of Kalinin, General Ivan Konev is fighting the tanks of General Hermann Hoth. In occupied Czechoslovakia, in the Ruzhny barracks, the mayor of Prague, Otakar Klapka, is shot by a firing squad after being accused of anti-Nazi activities. In India, Mahatma Gandhi encourages passive resistance to the colonial population of the British Empire. In the United States, British and American scientists informed President Roosevelt that it would be possible to make an atom bomb of a weight of less than 11 kilos, with an explosive force equivalent to that of 8,000 tons of TNT, trinitrotoluene. The news reaches Stalin through Dr. Klaus Fuchs, who was working as a Soviet spy. From the Vatican City, Pope Pius XII criticizes the sterilizing program and the racial restrictions in marriages imposed by the Third Reich government. Saturday, October 4th. The German forces of Army Group Center, in their pincer maneuver over Moscow, reached through the western flank of the capital Vyazma and Rizev, and through the south they engage in fierce combats with the poorly organized Soviet troops who try to cut their way in the area of Orel and Bryansk. The Russian fronts are collapsing and the number of casualties is rocketing, but Stalin orders them to hold their ground. In the German rear guard, the partisans carry out rapid guerrilla raids against the Wehrmacht units. In the Lithuanian city of Kaunas, where rivers Neman and Neris meet, in the ghetto of Kovno, all patients, doctors, and nurses are locked in the hospital building by SS forces. The building is then set on fire. Those who manage to survive are shot by the German troops. More than 30,000 Jews die. In Austria, in the concentration camp of Mauthausen-Gusen, Dr. Edward Krebsbach, who is in charge of medical supervision, begins to experiment with prisoners the effectiveness of lethal injections directed to the heart. At the same time, in the basement of the hospital, tests are carried out in a gas chamber. In the Far East, in Tokyo, most of the high commands of the Nippon Army reject the delaying tactics of the American diplomats and ask the government to put an end to the talks. Sunday, October 5th. In Russia, in the triangle formed by Smolensk, Vyazma, and Bryansk, more than 650,000 Russian soldiers have fallen victims of the encircling operation of the German armies. Amidst the widespread panic, the Stavka orders its armies to withdraw, to create a new defensive line. The German strategy is by now evident: to strangle Moscow through the north of Kalinin and Tula through the south. General Heinz Guderian and his forces have been stopped in the Orel area as they have run out of fuel. The supplies cannot arrive from the air due to the bad weather conditions and the pressure of the Soviet aviation. Finally, Stalin orders the retreat of the Western Front troops and urges his generals to counterattack as soon as possible in the central and northern parts of the front to try to create an opening to re-establish communications with Leningrad. He orders General Georgy Zhukov to come back to Moscow to substitute Semyon Timoshenko in organizing the city's defense and to take charge of the Western Front. Meanwhile, thousands of citizens, most of them women, work in the construction of several trench lines around the Russian capital. In Vichy, France, Marshal Pétain commits the death penalty to life imprisonment for the French resistance member Paul Collet, who is charged of trying to murder Pierre Laval and Marcel Diet. In North Africa, British planes bomb Tripoli, Libya. Monday, October 6th. In Russia, the German tank divisions of Army Group Center cut the retreat of some of the Soviet forces, withdrawing to Mohaisk, only 70 kilometers away from Moscow. South of Minsk, near Orel, the 4th Armored Division of the Wehrmacht is attacked by Russian tanks. The Soviet T-34 proved their superiority by inflicting severe damage on the Nazi forces. An intense snowstorm takes place in the Russian capital. The roads are rendered impassable, stalling the German march. The commands request the OKH that it urgently supplies them with adequate clothing for the soldiers to be able to fight under such conditions. In the south, the panzers of von Kleist cross River Dnieper and reach Berdyansk in the Sea of Azov. The pincer operation traps more than 100,000 Russian soldiers. In London, Winston Churchill sends Stalin a message stating the number of vessels transporting weaponry that are sailing to the port of Archangelis. In Washington, the meetings between the governments of Japan and the United States continue. The tension between both countries builds up. In Tokyo, Counter-Admiral Shigeru Fukudome, chief of the Navy Operations Division, warns that some officers in the Army have doubts regarding the chances of success in a war against the Americans and the British in the South Seas.